For millennia, the dream of global peace has captivated prophets, philosophers, and poets. It has been called a utopian fantasy, an impossible dream in a world seemingly hardwired for conflict. We look at the news, at the wars, the geopolitical tensions, the humanitarian crises, and it is easy to succumb to cynicism. To believe that peace within our family, our community, or even our nation is one thing, but peace for the entire world, that feels beyond our reach. But I am here to tell you that global peace is not a magical end state where all conflict vanishes. It is a dynamic, active, and deliberate process. It is the continuous project of building a world where the mechanisms for managing human conflict are so robust, the bonds of mutual interest so strong, and the recognition of our shared humanity so profound that large-scale organized violence becomes an obsolete tool. Global peace is not the absence of difference, it is the presence of a system, a web of bridges that can hold the tension of our diversity without breaking. Today, we will explore a practical, multi-layered blueprint for how we, as a human family, can build this reality together. To build global peace, we must first understand the architecture of global conflict. The drivers are complex and interconnected, operating at different altitudes. At the highest level, we have systemic and geopolitical drivers, nations competing for resources, power, and influence within an international system that often rewards zero-sum thinking. This is the world of military alliances, economic sanctions, and strategic rivalry. Beneath that, we have economic and resource drivers, conflicts fueled by scarcity of water, arable land, and energy, or by vast inequalities in wealth and opportunity between and within nations. Then there are identity and narrative drivers, the deep-seated ethnic, religious, and civilizational stories that create a sense of us and them. Stories that can be weaponized by leaders to mobilize populations for conflict. Finally, there is the individual and psychological driver, the innate human tendencies toward tribalism, fear of the other, and the desire for dominance, which are amplified and exploited on a global scale. A strategy for global peace must address all these levels simultaneously. It is not enough to sign a treaty if the people still hate each other, and it is not enough to promote personal peace if the systems incentivize war. So, what is the framework? How do we actually build peace at a global scale? I propose a vision of four interconnected pillars, each essential and supporting the others. The first pillar is forging systems of collaborative governance. This is about strengthening and reforming the global infrastructure for peace. It means supporting and improving international institutions like the United Nations, not as a world government, but as a platform for dialogue, conflict mediation, and coordinated action on global challenges. It means building and respecting a body of international law that governs not just war, but trade, the environment, and human rights. It means creating binding treaties on arms control and climate change that make violence and ecological destruction less viable options. This is the hard, technical, diplomatic work of creating the guardrails for our global society. The second pillar is weaving a web of mutual interdependence. When nations' economies, energy grids, and food systems are deeply intertwined, the cost of conflict becomes prohibitively high. This is the logic behind the European Union, born from the ashes of World War II to make war between France and Germany not just unthinkable, but materially impossible. We must actively champion fair trade agreements, collaborative scientific research, joint infrastructure projects, and global supply chains that create a vested interest in cooperation. It is harder to demonize a country when your prosperity, your health, and your security are tied to theirs. The third pillar is cultivating cross-cultural empathy and understanding. Systems and economics are not enough. Peace must also live in the human heart. This requires a massive, deliberate investment in what I call global bridge building. This is the work of supporting educational and cultural exchange programs, promoting tourism that fosters genuine connection, and leveraging media and art to tell stories that highlight our shared struggles, joys, and aspiration. It means learning another language not just for business, but to access another people's soul. It means consuming media from other countries to see ourselves through their eyes. When we recognize our own hopes and fears in the faces of people from the other side of the world, the idea of bombing them becomes a psychological impossibility. The fourth pillar is championing a shared, planetary identity. Ultimately, we need a story about who we are that is bigger than our national flags. We are a species on a pale blue dot, a fragile planet with a single, shared atmosphere and a finite set of resources. The greatest threats we face: climate change, pandemics, asteroid impacts, are oblivious to national borders. They are planetary problems that require a planetary response. By mobilizing around these superordinate goals, we can forge a new layer of identity, Earthling. This is not to replace our other identities, but to add a crucial, overarching one that can help manage the conflicts between them. This is a half-truth. We have capacities for both aggression and cooperation. Our task is to create environments that elicit our better angels. Another objection is that it infringes on national sovereignty. The response is that in an interconnected world, absolute sovereignty is a fantasy. Our choice is between chaotic interdependence and managed cooperation. Here is an expert mediation tip for the global stage. The principle of do no harm must be central. Well-intentioned humanitarian or diplomatic interventions can sometimes worsen conflicts by creating dependency, fueling corruption, or upsetting local power balances. Every action must be taken with deep cultural and political humility, and with the primary goal of empowering local peacebuilders, not imposing external solutions. The psychological key to all of this is the expansion of our circle of moral concern. Throughout history, this circle has grown from the family, to the tribe, to the nation. The next, essential evolutionary step is to expand it to encompass all of humanity, and indeed, all life. You may be thinking, I am one person. What can I do? You are the starting point. You build it when you advocate for compassionate and cooperative foreign policies. You build it by raising children who see themselves as global citizens. Your sphere of influence is your corner of the world. Tend to it with a global consciousness. It begins not in a conference hall, but in the choices we make every day to see the humanity in every person, regardless of passport or creed. My call to action for you is this: in the comments below, share one thing you can do this week to expand your circle of moral concern. How can you actively foster a sense of global citizenship in your own life? This framework is the path we walk to create a world where such horrors are prevented,